Today, I'm going to sand these boards and clean them up. So I have all my pieces wood filled and I'm just ready to clean them up with my orbital sander. I thought I was going to do a bunch of them at a time, but I'm going to do one at a time and see how they look, and then we'll go from there. This is all an experiment, so I'm learning as I go. Here we go. So I have 3 pieces completed over there. They're ready for prime and paint. I've got my next 7 pieces here ready to go, and I'm going to finish sanding them today. My last time when I did those pieces, I only did 120 and 220 grit sandpaper. Today I'm starting with 80 to do a knockdown on this wood filler, and then I'm going to go to 120 and 220, and I think the process is going to go a lot quicker. I'm only going to knock down it quickly with the 80 to make less sanding on the 120, and then I'll go to 220. It should be finished and ready to prime and paint today. Okay, I know this is a lot of work and it looks like I'm doing a ton of work, and I am. Don't get me wrong, but I really think it's going to be worth it in the end. I did a price comparison between the cheapest trim, the cheapest base that I could get from my hardware store, and this trim that I'm making. It is much cheaper for me to make the trim myself, and the cheapest trim that I could get was made of MDF and had a traditional old style routed edge along the top that I did not want. I wanted a flat modern edge and a really big, thick, wide piece of trim.
No. What if you just...
After sanding with my orbital sander, all I'm doing here is knocking down the edges with a piece of sandpaper just in my hand. I just want to make the edges knock down a little bit so that paint can adhere to those edges, and they're not sharp edges at all. Okay, so here it is. My trim is all ready for paint. It's nice and smooth. The corners are knocked down. It's ready for paint. I'm going to prime it and then paint it. Let me show you what I'm going to use. I would love to spray this, and I'm going to eventually spray my trim when I get more trim and when I make more trim for the rest of the house. But for now, I'm going to use what I've got. So I bought these rollers, cabinets and doors. They're supposed to have a nice smooth finish, nothing textured. With this little roller, should be good. Here's the primer I'm going to use. I've heard of this before. Someone recommended it to me. It's a Valspar bonding primer. It's supposed to help hide things, especially these edges or any discolorations in the wood. It should be really nice. So that's what I'm going to use for primer. And I'm actually going to switch it up, and I'm going to use this Behr paint and primer in one semi-gloss for the main coverage coat. So first I'm going to use a Valspar, and then I'm going to use this for the coverage coat. I originally thought that I could just put all of the pieces of trim next to each other and take this little roller and roll all the edges one by one, but I quickly found out that I couldn't do that. It was best to separate them to really get in and take time to look at each one of the pieces of trim. I also thought that I was going to designate some as base and some as case and only do one side of the ones that were going to be base, but I found that it was a lot easier just to do both sides. It doesn't take that much more paint. It doesn't take that much more time. I'm doing half of them already both sides, so why don't I just do all of them both sides? And even that, then the underside against the concrete in my house is protected from moisture just with the primer and the paint. And I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy with the way that this primer adhered to these fresh pieces of plywood. So the primer dried, and it dried really, really well. But it did raise the grain and raise some imperfections in the wood, just like you would with doing any normal project with wood. And so I am going to take 220 grit sandpaper, and all I need to do is really just one pass, and it's good. It's laid down, it's good to go. So that's all I'm going to do to all these pieces, and then I'm ready to put the top coat. As I'm recording this audio, I am doing this on the back end of this project. I have completed this, I have installed this trim. It worked out really well. Something that I should have done, and knowing this now, I can tell you guys now, it's fresh wood. It is not primed wood at all. I should have done 2 coats of that primer. Two coats of that primer would have hidden absolutely everything. Even though it was a bonding primer, 1 coat was not good enough. Also, I'm not sure yet, but I probably should do also 2 top coats. So 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of the top coat. That way it hides everything. It's fresh wood. 4 coats of paint is not a big deal. It's not going to build up. It's not going to look bad. And that semi-gloss made it look beautiful. Okay, so here they are, all finished. I'm ready to cut them. I'm ready to put them in the first room. But this is how I made my homemade trim. If you like this, please subscribe. I've got plenty of more of this and plenty of more of similar projects like this to come. You can do it. If I can do this, you can do it as well. Thanks for watching.